The Milwaukee Road Class EF-1, or EP-1, or ES-3. Okay, this is gonna get very confusing. Technically, the E's, I'm just gonna say E's to make it easier, comprise multiple variations of the same basic design of early electric locomotive, built by Alco for the Milwaukee Road, with electrical components supplied by General Electric. In a similar case to the DD-1s we discussed last week from the Pennsylvania Railroad, these locomotives were twinsies. They were semi-permanently coupled together. Technically two individual units, but they operated as a team, resulting in a combined AAR arrangement of 2B plus B plus B plus B, 2. Yay! And they were constructed in 1915 following the Milwaukee Road's electrification project, and had a continuous horsepower of 3,340. Using 3,000-volt DC electrical systems, they saw significant use over the years, like a lot of use. Milwaukee Road really liked them. They were reliable and very cost-effective. They could do the work of multiple steam locomotives, while at the same time being cheaper to operate, and allowing the Milwaukee Road to improve their scheduling. General Electric themselves would proclaim these engines to be the king of the rails in a silent promotional film, also in 1915. That's debatable. First of all, they'd be queens? Duh. God. And they were very good. They were fitted with multiple unit train control systems, mostly because they had to operate in tandem. That's how they were designed. Early on, there were two different versions of them, the EP-1 and the EF-1. They were basically the same. However, the EF-1 were meant for freight service. 30 of the locomotives were under that classification and were numbered 10200 to 10229. The remaining 12 were assigned for passenger service and called EP-1s, numbered 10100 to 10111. The only difference between them and the rest of the family was that they were geared differently, for higher speeds for the passenger service. The freight version could only go about 35 miles per hour because they were meant for slow, heavy freight. But the passenger ones could go faster than that, obviously, because they needed to. The two powered trucks on these engines were connected together with a ball and socket joint, and the couplers were also attached to the trucks. Not the locomotive frame directly. That meant the bodywork of these locomotives didn't actually take the load of the train at all. And they were successful over the years, but in the 1930s they began being reworked. For one thing, in 1919, all of them had been converted into EF-1s, because they had stopped being used for passenger service with more modern engines that could go faster. So they were all EF-1s by that point, but even there, the trains were getting longer and heavier. So, to compensate for this, instead of operating in their twin format, some of the sisters were divided and made into teams of 3, classified as EF-2. 12 of these were assembled, numbered 10500 to 10511 A, C, and B. And it wasn't just a matter of sticking them together and calling it a day. See, the center unit, which was the C unit, had a cab like they always did, but in this format they were unnecessary. They didn't need the cab if they were in the middle. So, they were shortened by removing the cab, the pilot truck, and the frame extension, being reworked and nicknamed bobtails. In this modified form, they'd be put between two of the standard units and called EF-3 sets. They didn't always make that change. More EF-2s were made, but going the extra mile to make the bobtails was actually deemed unnecessary during the Great Depression, because, okay, yes, you don't need the cab, but it's not, hurting anything to leave it there, so they just stopped making that alteration. They were also all renumbered in 1939, with the EF-3s being renumbered to E25 through E36, and the EF-1s being renumbered to E50 through E73. They continued being worked over the following decade, and in 1951, they decided to go even bigger by assembling 5 4-unit sets. Guys, at what point are these not, separate locomotives anymore? You can't... this is just a multiple unit consist at that point. I feel like we've lost the plot a little bit, but those creations were classified as EF-5. By 1961, they had 10 of those particular sets. And at one time, there was an odd number of EF-2s created. And that meant that there was a single box cab unit left on her own. Her sister was taken away. She was by herself. And it was very sad, but they decided to keep her and reclassified as a heavy switcher called ES-3. And her story does not end there. More on her later. Beyond these other creations, well, in 1953, two of the EF-1s, E69A and B and E28A and B, were both converted back into passenger service locomotives, designated EP-1As, because the EP-2s kind of needed help. They had ruined them, and they needed some assistance, so they sent their older cousins out there to help them. They were given steam generators and engine trucks from scrapped F7 Hudson steam engines, as well as being re-geared for higher speed. They actually did pretty well in that form, despite their age. But over the course of the 1950s, some of the sisters had been withdrawn. Slowly but surely, they were taken out of service and scrapped. This sort of thing would ramp up significantly in the 1960s when, simply due to how old they were, they really couldn't repair them without replacing the whole thing. They'd been worn out significantly, and they were given constant patch jobs until that just wasn't possible to do anymore. Once they became unrepairable, they were scrapped, and most were retired by 1973 except one, E57B and her bobtail sister. I should mention that E57B was the ES3, the one that I mentioned before. Yeah, she was still around. And being the odd one out and a unique case, she wound up being saved, as well as two of her other siblings. Unit E50A and B, originally 10200A and B, the first sisters built, survived together. Both twins were saved, and they're preserved at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum in Duluth, Minnesota. E57B, on the other hand, originally 10211B, would also be preserved just because of how long she lasted, located in Harleton, Montana. They're all on static display, and much like the remaining EP2, I doubt they'll ever run again. But hey, they were saved. And that's nice, because they did a really good job and lasted a super long time. Like their careers were longer than the GG1's careers, and the GG1s are famous for lasting well beyond when anyone thought they would. The EF-1s, on the other hand, they were there even longer, so hey, top tier, good show, I like to see it, we like to see it, guys. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.